Artificial intelligence is advancing at breathtaking speed, but at what cost? Experimental platforms like Maltbook now let AI agents interact completely without human oversight, raising urgent questions about autonomy and control. The 2026 International AI Safety Report warns autonomous systems could act before humans intervene, creating irreversible harm. Meanwhile, AI-powered cyber attacks are accelerating globally, outpacing our defenses. As the United Nations launches its first global dialogue on AI governance this July, the world faces a defining choice. Will we steer these powerful systems or become passengers in our own future? The moment for action is right now. Meanwhile, China and Russia are once again signaling unity at the highest level. In a recent video conference, Presidents Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin described their partnership as a stabilizing force in an increasingly uncertain world. As Russia faces mounting pressure from the West, the call underscored deeper strategic coordination, expanding economic ties, and a shared vision for reshaping global power dynamics. I'm Hala Al-Hamalawi. Let's get in focus. Cisco executives say that 2026 will be a turning point for enterprise artificial intelligence as companies move towards autonomous agentic AI systems while grappling with major challenges around trust, security, and infrastructure. At Costco's AI Summit, CEO Chuck Robbins warned that businesses must rethink their data security, AI models, and technology infrastructure to fully adopt AI. Cisco President G2 Paddle identified three key obstacles: limited computing and network capacity, a trust deficit in AI systems, and a growing shortage of human-generated training data. Cisco plans major investments in chips, networking, and data center technology to support large-scale AI clusters spread across multiple locations. Paddle also highlighted the rapid rise of synthetic and machine-generated data in AI training. Internally, AI is already transforming Cisco's software development, with 70% of AI product code now generated by AI and some products expected to be fully AI written by 2026. To provide more analysis, joining us from Cairo is Mr. Muhammad Azam, information technology expert. Welcome, Mr. Azam, to Q News. Let me start by asking you, how do platforms like Maltbook, where AI agents now interact without human oversight, challenge our ability to maintain control over increasingly autonomous systems?
Thank you so much, and always pleasure being on Q News. Actually, we are witnessing a new world order where machines are getting smarter, faster, and by having such a platform, actually like Maltbook, we are now seeing AI agents are interacting together, discussing things together, starting from politics to religions to software engineering to philosophy and so on and so forth. So actually AI is disrupting our world that we know today, and we are witnessing all the time new business models that beyond our capabilities to foresight and to foresee, and even our capabilities to integrate such disruptive technology in our daily business in a way that's actually disrupting the whole value chain, disrupting the whole ecosystem within all industries, starting from the defense industry to the retail industry to the financial markets and so on and so forth. So, this is the reality that we are witnessing. We are going towards what's called singularity, where machines would be more capable of taking autonomous decisions regardless of human interaction. Nobody can tell. However, this is we are witnessing the beginning of a new era, and where the machines are becoming a very integral part of what we are doing today.
So with the 2026 International AI Safety Report warning that autonomous AI could act before humans intervene, what concrete safeguards can prevent irreversible harm?
This is actually one of the most important concerns, actually, if machines are faster by nature, and that's why we need to have a built-in circuit breakers within the system to be able to actually have a sort of intervention within the system before something major could happen. And we need to have such circuit breakers within the system from the beginning while designing and implementing the system. Otherwise, the machine could lead us to a very catastrophic decision beyond our capabilities actually to bear the consequences, which is very serious issue.
Yes. And as enterprises rush towards a genetic AI that makes independent decisions, how do we close the dangerous trust deficit that Jito Patel highlighted at Costco's recent summit?
Actually, we are going towards autonomous system very shortly, and we are seeing this in so many different defense and civil applications. Actually, to have the full trust in systems actually is not, I would say, is not being workable for the time being. Actually, however, there are more dependence on systems to take decisions regardless of the human interaction. We've seen this in so many military applications and what's called defense tech, like what's called signature strikes done, conducted by drones, regardless of the human interaction, based on real data coming from the field, and having this sort of characteristic to define is it a possible target or not without human intervention. And this is very ethical dilemma, actually, because machines, actually, I believe machines shouldn't take final decisions. They need to be oversight for humans as you speak, especially for life-threatening or major things that could disrupt a lot of our life, disrupt our safety, disrupt our privacy. There are so many different domains, and all they are very interconnected, which is bring to our table a lot of new challenges. It's actually more than concerns, because technology is progressing at a pace that we never seen before. And therefore we have new challenges for sure. That's why we need to come with novel solutions to such challenges, because we cannot stop the technology. And the enterprises are going to use the technology. Nations who own the technology will increase the gap between the countries and the nation who own the technology and who do not own the technology. And this will increase our even especially countries in the south for being able to develop at a pace that will safeguard their economic and social coherence. This is a very serious thing, I believe.
Definitely. So if synthetic data replaces human-generated training data by the end of during 2026, as Epoch AI predicts, will AI lose its grounding in human reality and values?
Another tough question to answer, actually, because uh, we need to have a hybrid model. We cannot we need to have this kind of hybrid model for gathering the data, dealing with the data, building decisions based on the data, because this could lead to serious consequences if we are not aware of what could the machine do without a real intervention or a sort of supervision by humans. So I believe to have a hybrid model could be one of the solutions to such one of the challenges that we face today.
Yes. Well, that was Mr. Mohammed Azam, information technology expert. Thank you so much, sir, for your special insights. And turning to global alliances, China and Russia are once again signaling unity at the highest level. The Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin used a recent video conference to spotlight the growing strength of ties between Beijing and Moscow, calling their relationship an exemplary, stabilizing partnership amid growing global uncertainties. According to Barron's, the two leaders underscored deepening economic, political, and strategic cooperation and framed their alliance as a key factor in global affairs at a time of mounting geopolitical uncertainty. Putin praised the expanding trade and strategic ties with China, while Xi emphasized the need for ongoing high-level engagement and a long-term plan to further develop their partnership. The conversation highlighted how both countries are seeking closer alignment as global power dynamics continue to shift. For more on this, joins us from Paris is Mr. Maher Nicholas Fresley, the director of EU-ASEAN Center. Welcome, Mr. Nicholas, to Q News. Let me start by asking you, how would you characterize the current state of China-Russia relations, especially in light of the recent interaction between Putin and Xi Jinping?
I'm delighted to join you today from Paris. To make a long story short, I would say it's quite good. So it's not ideal, not perfect. It's like an old couple, right? An old couple, after 15, 20, 30 years of marriage, it may not be the intensity of love at first sight when they were 18 or 19-year-old, but they're still in love with each other, right? So I think that's how
I don't know. I don't know, but the timing is actually very critical, Mr. Nicholas. The timing of this rebound is really critical. Just before the 4th anniversary of the Russia-Ukraine war, significant on the world stage. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Russia had to make a mental effort. I think, to make a long story short, once again, Russia today is in a good position, but they had to make a big mental adjustment, not in the past 4 years. I think they had to make a big mental, intellectual adjustment in the past 12, 15 years to the new reality, which is Russia is no longer a superpower, whatever Putin thinks and whatever the elites in Moscow believe, right? They're no longer a superpower. But guess what? Europe, the European Union is no longer a superpower, right? Germany and France are no longer, or Britain are no longer big powers. So there are only two big powers left, clearly.
US and
China and America. And that's a fact. And the Europeans and the Brits and the Russians have to live with it, right? So they all have to adjust mentally. And I think, and it's a paradox, the Russians, even though they're rigid, they're very bureaucratic, and that has not changed a lot after the fall of the Soviet Union. Russian government culture has remained very rigid and bureaucratic. Russian military culture has remained very communist and bureaucratic and rigid, which is not a sign of intelligence, but whatever. The Russians finally, unlike the Brits and the Europeans, the Russians finally adjusted to their new status. And their new status is quite good. What is the new status of Russia today? It's a pivot nation. and it's probably the most important and the biggest pivot nation in the world. So you may say, you know what? The Russian, the Americans and the Chinese are fighting to the death in all fields, finance, technology, industry, military. They're really fighting. And that fight will last 60, 70, 100 years. Who knows? In that new era, both the Chinese dragon and the American eagle, they will need to court these important pivot nations. And there are only 6 or 7 pivot nations in the world, right? And one of them is Egypt, one of them is Australia, one of them is Brazil. But Russia is the most important by far. And Russia is being courted by America and China. So to come back to the old couple metaphor I used at the beginning, I'm going to use another matrimonial metaphor. Russia is like a beautiful single princess, bachelorette. And all the suitable princes of the world are courting her. She's being courted because she's that pivot, right? And I think it's not a bad position to be in spite of all the mistakes, all the strategic, military, financial mistakes, which Putin did in the past 4 or 5 years. The position of Russia is not bad. They are quite strong today.
Well, the leaders described their relationship as stabilizing amid all the global tensions. What does this suggest about their worldview?
Well, here, I think the key word is stability. So it's difficult to translate from Russian to Chinese and then from Chinese to Arabic, whatever. So I think we're losing a little bit in translation. And I think in Chinese...
Let's maintain it stability.
Yeah, I think in Chinese, stabilizing is a little sexier or a little nicer. But anyway, the key concept is stability. So what are they saying? They're saying we are grown-ups. We are adults here. As opposed to who? And this is the irony, and this is the cruel irony for the Europeans and the British. They're saying we, the Chinese and the Russians, are grown-ups, as opposed to the kids, the irrational babies, the children, or those who behave like irrational children. And they mean the European Union, NATO, and England or Britain. They don't mean Trump. So I think this is very interesting. They mean, because stability is the main feature of which school of geopolitics? It's a school called realism or neo-realism, right? So these people say, we need to be cold, no feelings, no hard feelings, no hot feelings, no cold feelings, whatever. We need to be cold actors. And we look at the world in the eyes of Palmerston or Richelieu. What does it mean in the eyes of Palmerston or Richelieu? It means we have no friends. We have no friends. We have no lovers.
Yes.
We only have interests, countries, nations,
Well, in this regard, the Chinese president has called for, I quote, grand plan to deepen ties with Russia. In your own opinion, what might such a plan look like in practice?
Well, it's very simple. In my personal opinion, because Trump is smart, unlike his predecessors, and so that would be, Biden, Obama, Bush, Cheney, right? And the first Trump presidency, 8 years ago when he first came to the White House, Trump was not Trump because the Republican Party was a very different animal 8 years ago. And his own party was still controlled by the Bush, Bush-Cheney pro-NATO wing of the party. So Trump's wings 8 years ago, remember Russiagate, right? Russiagate happened because inside his own party, he was betrayed, not only the Democrats. So what Trump did in the past 8 years, he completely got rid of the pro-NATO, pro-EU, George Bush people. And now he can finally be Trump, an ultra-realist.
Yes.
And so I think it's all coming together nicely. And Trump, he realized that America was falling behind, quite frankly. And in many industrial, financial, technological sectors, China was now ahead of America. And because these people around Trump are smart, they realize that they need to catch up, right? If your main rival is above you or, you are behind him, if you want to survive, you have to catch up. And so what is Trump doing now is catching up. And the new Silk Road, the Eurasian new Silk Road,
yes,
is China's main tool because it allows the Chinese state-owned enterprises and the gigantic Chinese state-owned banks
Yes.
to deploy advanced tech, high-tech, transportation, energy projects
Yes.
from Greece and Hungary to Guangdong.
Yes,
And so
I get your point, and I'd like to thank you so much, Mr. Meher Nicholas Frizzley, Director of ASEAN Center. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here today. And as AI pushes towards unsupervised autonomy and great powers reshape global order, humanity stands at a crossroads. Will we govern these forces or be governed by them? The choices we make today will definitely define tomorrow's world. This is all for today's episode of In Focus. I'm Halal Hamalawi. Thank you so much for watching.